Hi everyone, welcome to the stream. I am Kel McDonald, an editor at Iron Circus, and I'm here with Kendra Wells, the creator of Real Hero Shit.
Hey!
And as you can see, we have this beautiful little image that shows our Kickstarter status, but I'm also gonna let's see, capture display. We're gonna, nope, we don't want that.
We are figuring it out.
So I'm gonna just full screen this on my other desktop. Hi everyone.
Minor technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But we're
doing it. All right.
Stick around. We'll figure it out.
All right. So there we go. This display is going to be about the same size as our Kickstarter window, so it's easy for me to go back and forth. There we go. Everything's all nice. So Kendra is going to be drawing while we talk about Real Hero Shit.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, I think I'm just going to draw. I didn't really plan ahead here. I think I'm just going to draw the main cast, maybe hanging out, doing something. If anybody has any like urgent requests for me to draw,
I mean, we all like sexy Eugene.
Eugene has been truly working. He's an employee at this point.
Yeah.
The amount of saucy Eugene drawings I've done to encourage people to donate to the campaign. God bless him.
I'm glad you liked my Eugene drawing that I did real quick.
I love it. It's so good. I love that, I love that you had his, perfect twist of being, he needs to be blowing a kiss, but also you need to be able to see his butt, because that's absolutely the correct instinct with him.
Yes. Yes. I know you talked a little bit about it on the Prism interview, but for people that missed that, do you want to explain sort of the genesis of Real Hero Shit?
Sure. I actually the first sort of inkling of Real Hero Shit was a drawing I did for Inktober, if you're familiar with that. 2017, I want to say. So October 2017, I drew this picture of it was basically, I mean, he looked basically exactly the same as he does now. He had horns. It was just a little black and white drawing. He had horns. He had a sort of fencing sword. And he was a prince, and I drew him a couple times, and I was kind of like, well, I really like this character. What's his deal? And I kind of came to the conclusion that it's what if he was this sort of demonic, horned guy, but also a spoiled prince and a huge mama's boy.
Yes,
and that
yes,
and that was sort of the origin of Eugene. And the other three characters just kind of I don't know, they just kind of formed out of the ether to kind of balance his energy and I don't know, fill in the gaps. And I didn't really have a plan to make it a proper, book when I first started. But I was I'm really depressed. I was in a bad depressive spell. And I was watching the second season of Critical Role had just started. And I had started another 18th.
He does have a lot of Molly Mock vibes to him.
I love Molly Mock was my absolute favorite.
He was my favorite too. I actually stopped watching after he died.
Oh, he was so good. He was like perfect character, like just an absolute perfect character. Shout out to Taliesin and Jaffe. But between that and like starting like my 18th save file of Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, what if, like, like, hold on, what is actually stopping me from making a comic that is like this kind, like there's a very specific like flavor to Critical Role and Dragon Age of like it's medieval fantasy. It's
Hmm.
like there's a lot of epic storylines, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of like emotional driving emotional beats driving the story and everything, but also all of the characters are like kind of dipshits.
Yes.
Like they're
I
funny, they're flawed, they're like raunchy. It's very like adult humor with sort of a modern slant.
I
Uh
remember around the time Critical Role started, there was a Tumblr post going around that was like how people think their D&D game's going to be, and it shows like some screenshots of Lord of the Rings, and it's like how their D&D campaign is actually going to be, and then it does the Always Sunny intro, and it says the gang goes to Phandalin. Um,
yeah, it's just like there was something so appealing. I was like, oh, that's the kind of story that I would want to read. So why don't I make that kind of story? Um, and so my parents might be listening in the chat. I was actually living at my parents' place at the time when I pitched Real Hero Shit around, and Iron Circus was my first choice. I sent it to you guys. I got a yeah, hell yeah, within a week, and I
yeah.
was like, well, let me like hold on, like give me a minute, and I spent a couple months kind of like chewing it over, like seeing if anybody else like wanted it. Frankly, like no, obviously you guys are my first choice, but I wanted to see, play the field a little bit and see what was going on, and uh, nobody else was interested.
Well, and I
uh,
think that that's an interesting thing because um, I think the humor is one of the things that makes Real Hero Shit really stand out.
mhm.
Because I've seen other comics that are like someone's D&D, thinly veiled D&D campaign.
Mhm.
And a lot of them are kind of just so serious with their lore. So,
Yeah.
like, other publishers, I can see why their initial look, they're like, we don't want someone's D&D comic.
Yeah, like
Um,
I think I got a couple like notes back, and like obviously like it all worked out great because again, Iron
yeah.
Circus was my top choice and everything. But I got a couple notes back being like, oh well, we already have a medieval fantasy story like on our docket or whatever, and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, but you don't have my medieval fantasy story.
Yeah, you don't have one that's funny and sexy.
And
We
like it
have
worked out. Oh, sorry,
we
go
have a
ahead.
question in the chat.
Yeah.
Jenny Shunk says, "Question: Have you thought about turning the books into uh, a fifth edition adventure?"
Oh. Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it? I mean, clearly I mean, I've thought about it in as much as I have been dying to DM a D&D game for a long time, and I have kind of not done it because I'm intimidated with doing it.
Hmm.
Like I have so many friends who run such amazing games, and I would like frankly I would love to, but I just haven't really had the time to commit to it. But I was like a while back, I was like, you know what? I already have all of this world building that I've already done for Real Hero Shit. I could just recycle all of that and make it into this like just put it all in this universe that I've already created, and I've already been like, oh, and like the flora and the fauna and the economics of this town and yada yada, because like that's most of the work anyway. So the short answer is yes, kind of. I would love someday to like sit down and figure it out for real because that would be the coolest thing in the entire world. Also,
Uh,
apologies if I'm like rambling.
no,
I'm
that's
like,
that's
it's
good.
so
It's a live
it's
stream.
so
Rambling is better than dead air.
yeah.
Um,
I'm so unused to drawing and talking at the same time, so it's a little bit like you know,
I'm
patting
more
your head and
used
rubbing
to
your
it
tummy.
because I do a live stream with my pal Joe every week. But even then, it's like, what do we talk about?
It's like, oh God,
Usually, usually Joe and I end up talking about movies and whatever media we have consumed in whatever form each week. Uh, but before the D&D question, so the publisher said we already have a fantasy comic,
yes.
and
Um,
yeah.
and like, I mean, it worked out great, obviously, because Iron Circus is and like part of the reason that I wanted to go with Iron Circus to begin with was they already publish a lot of adult comics, which is very
Hmm.
rare in publishing. And I knew from the beginning that I wanted Real Hero Shit to be an adult comic. Um, it was sort of like a matter of like how much of this can I get away with.
Yeah.
But it was always in my head. Honestly, the finished product came out a little more tame than I think I initially envisioned a couple years ago. But it works out great, and also I'm very pleased to have an adult rating to begin with, and then I have space to grow. You know, like if things get even wilder down the line, then I'm able to kind of roll with it rather than being kind of starting initially with a young adult rating and then having to like ramp it up later if it comes to
Yeah.
that.
And I think also starting with the adult rating, first of all, you can have sexy times.
There are some
But
sexy times in this book.
also, it lets you dig into some more complex issues than YA
Hmm.
usually handles.
For
Um,
sure. And that's the thing.
and
It's funny because obviously, Real Hero Shit is an adult book. I've been describing it as sort of a solid R movie rating. Like
mhm.
nothing completely nuts like happens. Like it's honestly, I mean, to me, it's a pretty tame book. There's not a ton of like overt violence in it. There's some sexy times in it, but that's kind of it. There's a lot of cussing, but uh, yeah, it was important to me to kind of establish that it's not for kids, to manage
Yeah.
expectations in that way. And I love children's media. I love making children's media. My first book, shout out to Tell No Tales, Pirates of the Southern Seas, written by my friend Sam Maggs, is a middle grade book. It's for like ages 8 to 14, and I really really enjoyed doing it. But I think for my own personal work, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to push for an adult market.
So you mentioned Dragon Age as an influence and Critical Role.
Yes.
I have important Dragon Age questions.
Yes.
Who do you kiss?
Oh, finally. This is what I want to talk about. This is the only thing I care
The
about. Okay.
most important question: who do you kiss in Dragon Age?
It. Which game are we talking? All three? Because I can go in
Yeah,
order.
let's go through all three
Okay, going in order.
because
I
I have
played.
also played all of them. FYI.
Yes, perfect. I kind of like goofed and played it all out of order because Inquisition was my first game, and then I worked my way backwards because I just didn't have access to. I have a Mac, and
Hmm.
Origins does not run on Macs, which is really annoying. So I had to kind of wait and work my way backwards. Um, so in Origins, I romanced. Oh my God, I romanced fucking oh my God, Alistair, of course.
Yes.
You're gonna notice a theme. I romance.
Is okay. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you who the way to sum up the people I romanced or wanted to romance in all the Dragon Age are idiots with swords.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
that also your type in Dragon Age?
I love a simple blonde chantry boy with a tragic past. Yeah, I love a himbo. I love a God, they know how to write them in Dragon Age. So Alistair was my first. I played an elven mage, and I let him become king, and I couldn't stay with him. It was very tragic. I wanted the tragic ending, and then I ended up hurting my own feelings about it.
Oh, see,
So
I played as a lady and made myself queen. So,
see, that's I should have done that, but I was like, oh, I kind of want to do like the fucked up thing, like the cool. I hope we can curse on this, right?
yes, we can curse.
Okay. I mean,
Um,
it's called real hero shit, so I would assume so. But okay, just making sure. Yeah, I was like, I kind of want to do like I love like dramatic, like
you can
tragic
be his
story
mistress if you're
beats.
not playing as human.
Yeah, I think my sort of headcanon that ended up happening is I was like, okay, I also kind of romanced Zevran because I
Hmm.
couldn't not. And then I sort of took him with me at the end. So I was kind of like, okay, like Alistair is my one true love, but then me and Zevran get together and it's fine. That was sort of my headcanon of the events that unfold. Also Sten. I was in love with Sten and I was very sad that I couldn't romance him. I love the Kunari. Uh, and then um, for Dragon Age 2, I think in my first playthrough, I romanced Fenris because, of course, he came highly recommended to me by all of my friends. Um, but I love him, and I feel like I'm gonna I feel like I'm gonna
Well,
make
I
people
feel
mad.
like Dragon Age 2 is lacking in the romance department.
Yeah, and like the Fenris romance was really good, but I think it was a little bit overhyped to me. Like I think that like, and
I think a
it
lot
was a
of
really good
people go with
romance.
Fenris because there isn't that many better options.
Yeah, and so I was like, I really like Fenris, but I think just like the amount that he's like a fan favorite, I think that there was kind of no way for it not to be a little bit overhyped to me. So I played through it again. I don't think I finished, but I played through most of the game again, and I romanced Anders, which I know is controversial, but like
Terrorist boyfriend.
I listen, he I I love a guy who blows up the Pope. I can't resist. I like I well, and I'd played so after I played like to rewind a little bit, after I played Origins, I didn't realize that Awakening was basically a full separate game. So I played through Awakening, loved the Anders justice
Yeah, I
storyline.
feel
I thought that
like
was
Anders
amazing.
was kind of a disappointment in 2 after playing the DLC for Origin.
Yeah, like I loved like and he was so different in that game that it kind of like honestly like sweetened me on him like more retroactively because I was like, oh man, again, I love like a fucked up tragic backstory.
Yeah.
So like I was like, ooh, I love that they like ruined him, and then he blows up the Pope. So like I love and respect Fenris, and
So
I have
in
nothing but good
2,
feelings.
I was disappointed that I couldn't romance the captain of the guard lady.
Oh, Aveline, yeah.
Yes.
The fact
That's
that
my doofuses with swords is like, why can't I
ugh,
kiss her? Uh
she's amazing. She also falls into that category of BioWare character where you're like, this woman isn't straight. You can't tell me that this woman is a heterosexual. Cassandra also falls into that category for me. Um,
uh
but yeah, Aveline, she's amazing. Um, and then Inquisition, my true love. I've probably played 600 hours of this game at this point. Um, but
Cullen, is that who you kissed?
it, oh, of course, I
Uh
am. I listen. I again. I know that it's controversial. I know that he's not the and like I do. I love Bull, and I loved Dorian's romance.
I like
I've done both of
Cullen,
those.
and I didn't want to romance Bull or Dorian because I want them to be happy together.
Hmm. That's the
Um,
thing. To all of the fans in the house who might not know, if you keep Dorian and Bull in your party for long enough, they will romance each other,
they will make
uh,
out.
which is
Um,
fantastic. But yeah, I was a Cullen bitch through and through. He was the first. He was like, I kind of like, I don't know, accidentally romanced him on my very first playthrough. And
So
his
on
romance line is so good.
Yeah, it's very good. I played each game twice as a guy and a girl. Except I didn't play two twice because it doesn't matter your gender because
It's
everyone's
yeah.
bisexual in two. First run through I romanced. I was for Origin. I was a lady who romanced Alistair,
Amazing.
and then I played an edgelord blood mage who romanced Morgan. So we were just edgelords together.
Love
Um,
that. Morgan's great.
and then if you romance her, the first time that she approaches you to have sex is a great scene. She comes up to you and she's like, "I'm so cold at night." And you can be an idiot and say, "Do you need a blanket or something?" And then she yells at you and tells you to just get in her tent.
Oh my god. Morgan. You can't be
Um,
coy with these dummies.
then I played as a guy, Origin, first time through. Romance Cassandra because you buy her porn. That's her romance
Hmm.
arc.
Love
Um,
that.
and then Cullen when I was playing as a lady.
See, also, I feel the need to say, Cullen, yes, Cullen's voice actor is like a transphobic piece of garbage, and I don't
Yeah,
claim him as a Cullen bitch. Listen, Cullen was voiced by a generic British man, and that's all I care. Like, it's fine. He
yeah.
can be replaced. The Cullen romance line itself is unbelievably good. It's so sweet and so romantic, and I loved it. Also, justice for bisexual Cullen. Apparently, it was cut for time, which is very sad. I don't know what these guys are doing with their arms. Sorry, I'm like, this is what I get for not planning out a like composition. All the people in the
um,
chat get to witness just how disorganized I am when I'm
uh,
drawing off the top of my head.
so there any writers or like any prose books or comic books that influenced it since we went over uh, video games and live uh, live play streams?
Yeah, I mean, okay, admittedly, I don't read as much as I should, and I'm trying to change that. I did just get a library card within the last month or two.
I'm a big fan of
Um,
audiobooks while drawing. If
yeah, I need to like just sit down and get into it. I think I have sort of I don't know, I get really like hung up on books that I don't like, and then I get really like grumpy about it and don't want to uh like I've been like, oh, I wasted my time, and I don't know why I'm that picky about them. But I did not a direct influence, I would say, but a book series that I really loved that kind of falls into this category of adult medieval fantasy sort of thing is the Kushiel's Dart series that I read recently, or I forget what the actual trilogy is called. But it's like it starts with Kushiel's Dart, and then there's like a couple other books by Jacqueline Carey. Um, and it's like the elevator pitch is basically like BDSM sex workers for Jesus, but also James Bond, which is like it sounds insane. And it takes a while for the series to get going, but it is really incredible, and it's like it's like sort of like a romance novel. It's like very sexual at parts because again, the main character is a like professional courtesan slash
mm-hmm.
super spy. But it's beautifully written and like really well done, and like I loved the world building they did with it, and they did some amazing um I don't know, they did some like really amazing like character work and like relationship stuff that I really loved, and it was, I don't know, it was very inspiring to kind of see like, oh hell yeah, like adult medieval fantasy that isn't super boring. um
um, I recently started to listen to the audiobooks for The Witcher,
mm.
which can best be described as horny on Maine.
I've heard really good, my friend You probably know her. Carrie Peach is a
Yes,
big fan
yes.
of the Witcher books, and I have been meaning to pick them up for a while.
Well,
Maybe I wonder if they're in the library. I
they're
wonder if I can
horny
get
on
them.
Maine, and they
Love
also
that.
want you to know that abortion is great. Um,
Nice. Hell yeah. We love to see it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah.
will say the Kushiel series has like a fun workaround that they only kind of like drop in the third book, which is like, yeah, you have to do a whole ceremony to get pregnant. Like they're like, don't worry about protection. You're fine. You have to like ask for it to happen. And I was like, all right, sure. uh, the another series that or at least the first book I really liked was the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. I didn't finish the second book, but I loved the way that he treated the way like magic was explained. And it's like this whole
Hmm.
thing with like sympathetic magic and like it's sort of it's sort of the classic like, oh, like everything has a price, like certain
Yeah.
like energies need to be kind of exchanged for this magic to happen, but they did it in a very clever way, and I really loved, The Name of the Wind is the name of the first book there.
I've
Big
been meaning
fan.
to check those ones out.
They're really fun. I mean, at least the first.
Yeah.
Again didn't finish the second one. Your mileage may vary, but the
I,
first one is really good.
I keep being like, oh, I should check this out. But what if instead I re-listened to this urban fantasy series that I really like?
Yeah. Well, not prose, but comics. Another book that really inspired me with real hero shit was Delicious in Dungeon, which is a manga by Ryoko Kui,
And I have read
which
that one. That one's good
oh,
stuff.
it's so good. It's for those who are unfamiliar, it's basically again medieval fantasy adventure type story, but it's about these adventurers who um, they are adventuring in a dungeon and they need to start eating the dungeon monsters to survive, which is sort of the very short version of the main plot. And then like shit starts getting crazy in later books, and there are dragons, there's curses, there's the main guy Leos, who I love so much, is a real pervert about eating monsters, and I loved how fucking weird he was, and the books are so funny.
Yeah.
Can't get enough.
Uh, I love that he's just like, oh, we're almost at uh, 85,000, so just 50
Oh my
bucks away,
god.
$53 away. So
What
I'm
the
gonna hang
fuck?
out on the screen there so we can watch
What
it tick
the
over.
fuck?
Uh,
I hope everyone's excited for me to go, what? Like
yeah.
over and over again. That's insane. I, again, this isn't like just me being like, blowing smoke up everyone's asses and being too I legitimately did not think we were going to make all 4 stretch goals. And now we are 5,000 past the last stretch goal. It's like, thank you, but also, what?
Uh, yeah. So um, I love Delicious in Dungeon. I think
So
like there is I appreciate its sense of humor. I also appreciate that it is a fantasy comic that is not an isekai because that has flooded the manga industry.
now explain to me an isekai.
An isekai, it is a person from our world is sucked into a fantasy world. And usually
Oh,
the
yes,
premise
okay.
is a joke, and my problem with them is usually they do their joke, and then by episode 3, they're like, oh, we don't have anything besides that joke. So I guess now we're doing a standard fantasy story.
Yeah, I really I've actually been thinking about this a lot since I saw the new Dune movie recently, and I really enjoyed it. And part of what I liked so much was they just do not hold your hand at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love fantasy stories that do that, that have like the balls to just be like, you just have to trust me. You have to trust me that you're going to figure this out eventually.
I
Um,
I feel like that you can go too far in that direction of we're not going to explain anything to you.
Absolutely. But I like
Yeah.
there like when we were watching it at home, I like we like watched it on HBO. But the point where they're just like some big title comes across the screen and it's like the Valley of the Denarath, extra blah 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 blah, like 44 BCE or like whatever. I'm like, yes, yes. Don't tell me anything. Like I love like the setting up of this stuff and being like a lot of it you just have to kind of buy into. Like you know, you don't have
I support that. I'm just I'm thinking of when stuff gets too weird is there's a book by China Melville where the lady's head is a bug. And not that she has a bug head. Her head is like a bug that is put on her body. So she has two butts. She has a bug butt and a person butt.
Right.
And I just couldn't get around that. Like,
yeah, see, that is pushing it. That is pushing it. But like when it's if you know, because it's that I mean it's that isekai thing where it's like, you know, you have someone new who has to have everything explained to them, and that's how you get around world building. You know, like, oh, if someone like, oh, like this is the self insert for the reader or the watcher or whatever, and like they're gonna have all of this stuff explained to them in real time in a way that like narratively makes sense.
The way that isekais usually work is usually it's a fantasy world that runs on like video game logic, and the person that is brought in is a gamer, so they have meta knowledge that makes them the best at the fantasy world.
It's just Ready Player One, but manga. Like, oh, I've done it.
They know how to min-max their character sheet, and no one else does. We just hit 85,000. Hey! Hooray! Just gonna pull back up. I'm a big fan of Discworld. I think that's my favorite fantasy.
Read it, watched it, whatever. Has there been an adaptation of it, or is it just a
There
novel?
have been. So the thing about Discworld is you can read them in any order.
Oh, cool.
So different books have been adapted, but no one has like adapted the whole series because there isn't really an ongoing main character. Like there are characters that come back, but the one that's the most popular is Hogfather was adapted as like a TV Christmas special because that's the Discworld Christmas book.
Cool.
And then a couple of them got turned into animated movies.
Oh, that's fun.
In the early 90s, I think. I forget when they actually came out. And then one of them is starring the guy who plays Azrael in Good Omens.
Oh,
he plays the main character who is a con man that's put in charge of the post office and has to convince people the post office is good to fight against new technology that works like telegrams, but the way they talk about it, they're really talking about email versus the post office.
Oh my god. Incredible. Hey, just like real life.
Yeah.
You know? We're all going through that now. That's what life is.
There's a really great one about gender called Monstrous Regiment that's about ladies disguised as men joining the army.
Cool. I love well, I was about to say I love gender, but that's not true. I love interesting takes on gender stuff.
Which recently TERFs tried to claim that Terry Pratchett would agree with them, and his daughter was like, I'm sorry, did you not read all of his book? Did you not read Discworld, in particular Monstrous Regiment from Discworld? Excuse me? How dare you besmirch my dad's reputation?
TERFs can't read. Yeah. It is a well-known fact that TERFs simply do not know how to read. Okay, what am I doing here?
Someone
Sorry.
is asking, where is Eugene's butt? It is David Hyde is in the chat, demanding
Hi,
Eugene's butt.
David. Shout out to David. He's been working with our PR as our PR team, basically.
Yeah.
Eugene's butt is taking a little vacation because he's been putting in overtime, and
we
he,
support
labor.
fair hours and what labor
Listen,
compensation.
we need to have labor laws even about butts. So his butt is taking a little break. Also, it's really hard to think of poses that include the butt. It's like,
just do
how
like
do I...
a parody of that like sunscreen logo.
The Coppertone girl.
Yeah.
That's inevitable at this point. But yeah, a lot of the other thing, not really the books so much, but I was around the same time that I was writing Real Hero Shit. My partner and I were binging Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is so good, and I'd never seen it before, and it like completely blew my mind. And I think really,
it's great.
It's so good, and it really, I'm really thankful that I watched it like at the time that I did, basically, because it really like encouraged me to push my like fight scenes and like push this sort of action and this very like shonen manga thing, because they do it so well in the series, and a lot of the fight scenes in particular. I mean, you guys will see it when you get your books, but there's a fight scene between Eugene and Michelle in early on in the book, and it was like very much inspired by the Full Metal Alchemist stuff that I was watching. Highly recommend. Great story, great book, great anime.
Good stuff. Her book, Silver Spoon, is also good. That's about farms.
Oh yeah, I haven't read it.
It's about farms. It's good.
I'm gonna get rid of. Sorry, I really feel for the people who are watching me draw now, because I swear to God, I'm usually better than this. I'm just like scrambling to figure out what the hell I'm drawing. This is, you know what? This is what you get. This is live. This is real. This is uncut, uncensored.
The tech issues at the beginning. Spike is saying, "Whoops, been mispronouncing Mikal." And Spike, same. I was calling him Michael.
It's
or
French.
Michelle.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Michelle. It's, this is the thing. All of this stuff has been happening over email, so nobody knows how. Like, I have not been communicating to you how to pronounce everything. But yes, it is Michelle, no last name. Hocus Peregrine, Eugene Edouard Emmanuel de Pasca, and Ani. Oh my God, what's Ani's last name? Injera. Sorry.
Okay, so I was also saying Ani's name wrong. I was saying Annie.
It's cool. I mean, it kind of goes, because her full name is Angelica, so like you could really argue for it being Annie, but I pronounce it Ani. All this like last name lore.
Where did the names come from? What made you say this is the name for this character?
I feel like it's such a cop-out, but again, like with their designs, they just kind of came to me. Like, I just kind of went with that. Like, a lot of the stuff that I design in like my work ends up being sort of like gut feeling stuff, and all of their I'll share it somewhere on my Twitter or something. I have some like the first drawings I ever did of the whole cast, and they are basically exactly the same as they are like currently, including their names and like their appearance and stuff. And I don't know, like Michelle specifically there's a teeny tiny side character in Dragon Age Inquisition, in the Exalted Plane, when you are clearing out all of the I mean, I know they're all the darkspawn from those like abandoned forts in the like field. There's a guy who is fighting a darkspawn, and you talk to him. He's like, "My name is Michelle. I yada yada yada. I need help like clearing all of these darkspawn. Yada yada yada." And I just liked the name. Eugene specifically was uh, a joke. Because I was just like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I named this like sexy Playboy character Eugene, which is like the, no offense to any Eugenes out there, not a very sexy name. Um, and I've said this before about the title of the book being Real Hero Shit, which also was a joke until it wasn't, is you can't name stuff as a joke because it will stop being a joke very quickly and it will you'll just be stuck with it. So yeah.
Have you ever read the Peter Grant series, the Rivers of London series?
I have not.
The main character is a biracial wizard detective, and there is a part where his mentor is talking to him about the evil wizard that they're fighting, or trying to track down, and he's like, "We're tracking down the Black Magician," and the main character says, "We can't call him that." And his mentor's like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because words mean things, and people are going to call me a black magician. And if we're saying black magician means evil magician, that's not like words mean things."
I love that.
And then his mentor's like, "Then what do we call him?" And the main character jokingly says, "The ethically challenged magician."
Oh my god.
And then they can't think of anything better, and that's how they
That's
refer to the villain the rest of the series.
That's the thing. You can't joke about this stuff because whatever that first initial push is going to anchor itself in your brain forever.
And we have in the chat someone saying, actually it's pronounced me favorite character.
Aww, thank you. Okay. I feel like Eugene especially has been getting a lot of shine in the sort of promotional aspect of Real Hero Shit because he's the sort of, he kind of starts, he's not, I am pretty firm in that, like, he's not the main character. All four of them are the main characters. It's an ensemble production. He starts the story, but like, he's by no means like the protagonist. And he's kind
also easy to sum up quickly.
Yeah, he's kind of the best PR character because he's the most ostentatious, the most out there, the most like sexy and raunchy, and like, you know, he's the easiest one to be like, oh, this is the character you'll associate with it. But honestly, all four of them are my children, and I love them so much. I think they're all my favorite. Michelle might be like low key my favorite. I love his whole thing. He's such like a weird, stoic, like, I don't know, like I loved writing him and story, and
he's frequently exasperated.
Yes, you need a straight man, you know, like,
yes,
metaphorically speaking.
He's the Zeppo.
Yeah. You need somebody who's like not taking any of your shit, and like that it's a good foil. Like I built the three of them to kind of around Eugene because Eugene is such an overwhelming character that I think if it was just him it would get old fast. Like I love Eugene, but like he's tiresome. So like you kind of need like Ani hates Eugene and makes it very clear, and she's also like, you know, Eugene is an asshole, but he's also very charismatic. He's very likable. Like he sucks, but he's like that very like, he's a charismatic douchebag. Whereas Ani is, I would say, not very likable. Like on a personal level, she can be very abrasive, but she's also very smart and very interesting and very like passionate. And then Hocus is like so nice. Like I feel like I market this book to people and I'm like, oh, it's like these people who are just the worst. Like they really all suck except for Hocus. Hocus is so nice. Like he's just like the like sort of token like, okay, if E's here, maybe the rest of them aren't so bad because I trust his judgment. Like you
Oh,
know.
so
So and
just
then
speaking of pronunciation of things correctly, can we go over
yes,
Hocus's pronouns
yes, of
uh,
course.
audibly? Because I know how to write them all. But
It's so Hocus is non-binary. Uses EMS pronouns. But
Mhm.
in conversation, at least with like the way that I speak, it comes out more like EM is.
Mhm.
Uh, and like I'm here's the thing. I'm not perfect at it. I slip up sometimes, or I like say the wrong pronunciation or the wrong word. But he also uses they them pronouns in a pinch. So if you are having trouble with that, you can say they them. But it is a Jegdin culturally. Is people is are the Jegda, and they have famously has been featured in a couple of the amazing preview interview or like a publicity done, the Jegda gender wheel, which is basically sort of the way that I was getting around talking about neopronouns and like kind of building an in-world explanation for them. Is the Jegdan people have what they call the gender wheel, which is basically the spectrum of gender and gender experience, which is includes but it's not limited to what amounts to like cis man, cis woman, AMAB but trans woman, AFAB but trans man, AMAB but non-binary, AFAB but non-binary, and then I forget what else. But it's basically Hocus uses EMS, which is AMAB but identifies as neither man nor woman, and then there's like os, os, is, us. So hopefully, maybe in the future, involve more characters who use pronouns like this. But obviously, like as a non-binary, it's really important to kind of include a non-binary character and also specifically have a sort of tongue-in-cheek conversation about pronouns and about identity and where it's coming from. And in the scene itself, it's Eugene who's like hitting on Hocus, and Hocus is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like actually, I'm not a man. Here are my pronouns. Here's the explanation for it. But like, hey, don't worry about it if it's too hard." And I specifically wanted to have a scene of Gene going, "No, I mean, you took all the time to explain it to me. Like, the least I can do is use your pronouns." And then like he wanders off and he's like, "This is
And
Hocus. He is a hot babe. I want to see M shirtless." Like using it in
yeah,
conversation.
you keep
Which
saying that Eugene is an asshole, but I feel like it's more Eugene is oblivious.
yeah, well, and
And
that was the
those are
thing.
different things in my mind.
He is. I mean, here's the thing. He is extremely privileged and
Yeah.
extremely naive. He is not intention, and I think that that also was important in this scene, was proving that he's not a bigot. Like he's not that kind of asshole. He's just extremely sheltered and extremely naive and extremely privileged, and he is unfortunately also extremely over the top and very like in your face and like oblivious, so which can come across at, you know, especially if you're coming from a place of like, hey, I don't have as much like wealth and fame and privilege as this guy. This I mean that's basically where Ani's coming from. She's like, fuck this guy, he sucks. Like why did he shows up and he just gets to join our little group just because he's the prince? Like, no. But like I specifically wanted to prove to the readers at least that like, yeah, Eugene's a playboy and he's got a bunch of like dumb shit going on, but he's not a bigot and he's not an asshole, and he is, I think I described it as, he doesn't necessarily have a heart of gold, but he maybe has a heart of like brass. He's working on it. He's working on it.
So we have some people in the chat saying the concept of a system of non-binary pronouns that does also indicate the assigned gender at birth is so interesting, and I'm excited to learn more.
Oh, thank
Someone
you.
else says, I feel like S's culture uh, would have great jokes about spinning the wheel of gender for gender fluid people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Hocus mentions in that scene that like this isn't the limit, like this isn't like the limit of experience. This is just kind of the widely sort of accept, like general accepted pronouns. Um, and obviously, like people can use whatever they want, but that was kind of culturally where he's coming from.
All right, so I think we should talk about Annie,
Yes,
and how Annie hates Eugene.
wife, 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 wife.
Yeah,
I love Annie so much. Like,
Annie's great.
she's my babe. She's my sweetie. Ani, Annie,
Uh,
whatever.
oh,
Um,
so personally, a frequent refrain of mine is so and so is my favorite character because they're the worst.
yes,
Um, and
which applies
uh,
to at least 3 out of 4 of these characters.
and so I particularly like Annie because female characters don't usually get to be the worst.
That
They
is
usually have to be this voice of reason, and I'd much rather let them be terrible with the
that
boys.
that is 100%. Sorry, I've stopped. I'm rolling up my sleeves. It's warm in here. That was a huge driving thing about her. Like again, these characters kind of just like came to me full, like they sprung from my head, fully formed, like Athena from the Skull of Zeus. But I specifically didn't want to make Ani a quote unquote likable character. She is extremely abrasive. She's like, she's not very considerate. Or it's not that she's not considerate. She has very little patience
She's
for
right,
stuff.
and she wants you to know that she's right.
Right. And like she has a couple tussles with Hocus about like the difference in their magic usage. She obviously does not get along with Eugene at all. She like hates his fucking guts. She respects. I think she on paper gets along best with Michelle because she really respects him. Um, I think she and Hocus are like they're kind of like very sibling like to me. They're like they really deeply love each other, but they also fight a lot. Um, but yeah, I think it meant a lot to me to write a character, a female character specifically, who was kind of abrasive. I mean, to be fair, she's also like, she's got a little bit of that like aggressive atheist, like Ricky Gervais
Yes,
vibe.
yes, that's also why I like her.
like I love her to death, but she is a little bit like, where's your God now? Like a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and like, but I still like, I really, she's a character who, and like you'll see that, you know, y'all will see this when you read the book. She's a character who has accomplished a lot by sheer force of will. Like she's incredibly intelligent, she's really really hardworking, and she's extremely stubborn. um but she also has a lot of shit going on. I think that she's a really interesting character, and I'm really interested in sort of pushing her in I don't know, seeing what happens in maybe possible future titles. Who knows? But I think that it's, I don't know. And um, also, like, not to get too nitty gritty about it, but her design was really important to me. She's a very short woman. She's also
Mhm.
extremely busty. She's a little chubby, and she is big boobs. And it really bothers me when, especially in, I don't know, like in cartoons or in comics or whatever, that like characters are kind of given maturity and um, I don't know, they're sort of assigned morality based on their bodies. You know, like you can't have a character with a large chest who is not sexualized in some way, like in the canon. And she's a Ani is she's a woman. She's like a grown woman. She's a sexual woman. She's sexually active, but she dresses extremely modestly, and it's not I don't know, it was important to me to have this kind of character who
She's
like
got a
looks the way
very
that she does.
stocky look to her.
Yeah, like you don't, I feel like I don't see a lot of characters who are very curvaceous who don't then have that used to make them a very sexual character. Um, and I don't know, I wanted to make self-actualized and very like in charge of her own, destiny and stuff, but not kind of pigeonholed into some sort of like destiny based on her body type. I don't know. I love her a lot. She's my wife. She's my mean wife. She's what's that John Mulaney that now no longer very timely, but that John Mulaney bit about his wife that she's a bitch and I love her.
Yeah.
That's me about Ani.
Do you want her to push you into a locker?
I do. I do. She could do so. She's maybe like 5'2", but she could absolutely push me into a locker. She would set the locker on fire. Go. Wow, we're almost done with the sketch an hour into this stream. Usually I'm a lot faster than this. I've got stage fright.
So I've been following your work since you did summaries of Teen Wolf.
Hey! Oh man, way back when.
Way back when Teen Wolf was relevant.
The good old days.
And how does it feel to have come that far since doing Teen Wolf summaries?
I mean, it's very cool. I feel extremely lucky that people have been following my work for this long. I have people, I was doing a lot of TikToks to promote this Kickstarter in the book, which I wouldn't have continued to do, but they kind of started popping off and doing really well. And I've had a number of people, especially like, I don't know, on Twitter a bit and on TikTok, shockingly, but people who've been like, oh, I've followed you since the Teen Wolf days, or like, more distressingly, I followed you since the Glee days. And I was like, oh no, don't remind me.
Did you do Glee summaries too?
No, I just did Glee fan art. I was like a big Glee fan back in 2012, 2013, which is embarrassing, but it's, but you learn and you grow and you start. I mean, but that's the thing. I owe a ton of my success to doing dumb fan art online and somehow making a living out of it. And I really try not to take that for granted, because it's like I wouldn't have been able to. I don't know. Like I'm really proud of where I've come from, and I'm really happy to be here. And I'm really thankful that there have been people who have followed me for this long.
Check in with how the Kickstarter's doing. We're at 85,548.
Jesus Christ.
55 minutes left.
I mean, 15,000 to 100K. I don't think it's going to happen. I know that I said that I don't think that the stretch goals are going to happen. I don't think we're going to hit 100K. It would be very cool, but unless somebody wants to donate $15,000, like lump sum.
You saw that there's going to be a new Teen Wolf movie, correct?
I did. I don't know what they're going to do. I dropped off of Teen Wolf probably season 4 or so.
Which one's that?
I don't remember. I think I saw through, because they did season 3A and then season 3B, and honestly, once they stopped paying me to watch it, I kind of stopped watching it. It got crazy. It got really weird.
It got there were too many guys with dirty blonde hair and undercuts. So it got really hard to tell everyone apart, because they were all white guys with dirty blonde hair and undercuts.
And that was the thing. They killed off so many of my favorite characters that it was really hard to like get excited about the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But like I
Um,
loved, my favorite was Isaac. Scott and Isaac were like my guys. And like obviously Scott stayed around the whole time, but I that was okay, not just do spoilers for a show that's nearly 10 years old at this point. But when Allison died, I cried harder than I think I've ever cried during a TV
I
show.
I
Sobbing.
really liked Kira, and I think that is
Oh, I loved
partly why I
Kira.
kept going after Allison died.
Yeah,
Um, I
Kira was so
also
good. Arden Cho
think
is amazing.
um, I also think that basically after Allison died, they tried to do that thing where they're like, we're gonna mix up the lore, but I feel like they didn't establish the lore well enough to mix
Yeah,
it up.
it was
Um,
so like bizarre and like I mean they
did you
just
get
didn't
to the
know what they were
steampunk
doing.
Cybermen bad guys?
It's
That's what they
ringing a
looked like
bell.
to me. Like they're called. I forget what their name was, but they. That's how I best describe. Like these guys are steampunk Cybermen and making
It
weird hybrids.
it sounds very familiar, and I think so, but like God, that show went places.
Yeah.
I
My
loved
favorite character was Jackson because he's the worst.
ugh.
Um,
See that I love Jackson too. That was I love a terrible like charismatic douchebag. They just
uh,
yeah, I don't know. I mean I did a bunch of like Teen Wolf conventions and was like lucky enough to meet some of the cast and they were all very sweet.
I remember
Tyler
once
Posey.
you told me a story about Isaac's actor critiquing your body pillow of his character.
Oh my God. I think I had an out of body experience. I think that body pillowcase that he signed is still at my parents' house. Because I just don't know what to do with it. Yeah, I made body pillows of some of the cast members because I was going to a couple of Teen Wolf conventions. And then I think it was HowlerCon or something. I had like one pillowcase left of Isaac, and Isaac's actor was there. Daniel Sharman, God bless his heart, was there, and he like walked up to me and was like, "I need to talk to you about this pillowcase," and I was like, "Oh," just like left. Like I was so.
And I remember you
Oh,
saying that he drew pubic hair on it.
he did. He's like, "There's not enough." He's like, "Where's my armpit hair? Where
Yeah.
are my like? Where's my happy trail? Like,
And I
can I draw
think
this on?"
that's the funniest thing to me that
Oh,
he drew his body hair on.
God bless him. Good thing that honestly, he was a really good sport about it. It was deeply embarrassing for me just because like he's also so beautiful. He's so beautiful in person. Like
He is
he
a
looks like an
gorgeous man.
Adonis. He's like
Uh,
he's got those like Timothy Chalamet cheekbones and like jawline where it's
so
like, what
fan
is
cast him playing Eugene.
I could be
Thoughts?
into it.
Yeah.
I could be into it. He also Eugene is British in my head a little bit. Like he kind of goes back and forth, and obviously it doesn't matter. It's a comic, but he's a little bit English to me. He honestly, I had Dorian from Dragon Age Inquisition's voice actor in my head when I was writing a lot of Eugene. So
That's.
that's kind of my headcanon voice. But Daniel Sharman is English, so we can make this happen.
See, I meant like
Daniel
live action Eugene.
I
Like,
mean, yeah, no, I
yeah,
100,
yeah,
1000.
yeah.
If he's willing to wear a bunch of purple face paint, hell yeah. God, I know that like people love to be like, oh, like if you like, so when's the movie or whatever, like whenever someone makes a comic, and like obviously like sure maybe some I don't know it's not it's I don't know how the hell you would make Eugene look not awful. So I think it's just not in the cards. I don't want to put it I don't want some poor actor to have to deal with being completely head to toe purple body paint and yellow contacts and like white chest hair. Like, no, don't do that to somebody. Maybe a cartoon. Maybe if the Castlevania animation team wants to email me about making a real hero show, consider it.
You heard it here first. Let's get in touch.
we'll see. But yeah, you know, I actually I have Pinterest boards of all the characters that I never update because I forget that Pinterest exists. Like 8 months out of the year. But I found a bunch of really incredible face cast. Actually, wait, can I do this? Can I? What if? Pause. I'm going to log onto my Pinterest and I'm going to pull some of the face casts that I have into Photoshop so everyone can see them. Is that allowed?
Yeah, yes, that's allowed.
Sick. I'm like, hold on. Pause this drawing for a moment.
Important fan casting.
This is the good shit.
So someone says, "Does Eugene have a fake British accent?"
um, I mean, he would, right? Like,
Yeah.
if there was going to be anybody to have a fake British accent, it would be him. I do kind of, I don't know. I think it's easy to kind of make any like privileged royalty be like, oh, they're British. But you know, he's he's faking it. Who knows? Okay, I have this open. I have my Pinterest open. Okay, these are all just going to be like Pinterest models, so it's all going to be like who knows who the hell this person is. So I'm sorry that I don't have names of any of these people. If anybody like recognizes them somehow, let me know. And Art, will you pull into Photoshop for me? Yeah, okay. That's Eugene. That's my Eugene fan cast.
Good.
Photoshop right now. Just, very like, fuck this guy, like he's too handsome. He looks too good.
He looks not real.
He looks not real, but like that's what he would look like in my head. The Michelle picture I have, this is just like some random photographer, I think just like an unnamed model, but I like lost my mind when I saw this because it is exactly what Michelle looks like. Like I need to hold on to this picture forever because it blows my mind every time. It's just what Michelle looks like. That's Michelle.
I like his freckles.
I like Michelle just has like a little button nose covered in freckles. He looks all tortured. Like that's just what Michelle looks like. And it is astonishing to me that there's a real life person out there somewhere that looks like him. Hocus is a little harder because there aren't a lot of like plus sized like native models because I'm kind of basing Hocus on like Native American, like indigenous type appearance. And as it turns out, there's not a lot of like broad reference for that, at least not in like the sort of artsy photo Pinterest space. I think this is the closest I have to M. Pull this into. I'm so glad I get to share my passions with you guys. Okay, that's Hocus, roughly.
I love those pouty lips.
So beautiful. Such a beautiful babe. And then Ani. Ani's face cast is extremely good also. See if I can. Okay, I think this one's the best one. It's also another black and white picture, but fine. Ugh, look at her. She's perfect. That's Ani.
She's gonna fuck you up.
She's gonna fuck you up. She's gonna fucking kick your ass. And frankly, you'll love it. But anyway, that's my shit. God bless Pinterest for what it does. It sucks that nothing is attributed to anything, and it's impossible to find where this stuff comes from. But it's good for reference. Anyway, that's my little cast. So if those 4 specific people want to be in the live action movie of real hero shit, my email's in my bio.
I'm just looking at Eugene. He's good. Oh, his smug, dumb face.
He's the worst, and I love him. It's that's the thing. In lieu of having a character who's like learning about the world for the first time, it's fun to have a character who like thinks he knows everything about the world already.
Those are always really fun. Especially when like that bites them in the ass.
Mm-hmm. And it will.
Early in the book, I do really like Eugene saying he doesn't have money.
That's yeah, I loved that too.
Because everyone just gives it to him.
Well, and that's the thing. I was like, okay, like why would they need to do all these like odd jobs to like get around if they're traveling with the prince? And it's basically like, oh, he's not very liquid, like he doesn't have like a lot of money sitting in a vault.
People just give him stuff.
Yeah. I thought that was very funny. Like him.
What do you mean you have to pay for things?
Those like 2 panels of Ani. Why do we need to get money? Isn't his high? And then him being like, oh, I don't have any money. Like, like you didn't think to bring that up beforehand.
That's why we hired you, because you'd have money. God damn it.
He didn't think ahead. He also tells Ani that he has been outside of the castle walls, thank you very much. And then she goes, camping doesn't count. He goes, camping does so count. He's just very sheltered. He doesn't know what anything.
I think camping counts. Like, define, like, he did leave his house. That is,
He did leave his house. He probably slept in, like, a fancy caravan. He went glamping. He went glamping. Yeah.
That's still leaving his house.
Like, was it within the castle walls? Maybe.
That's the
what
real
are you,
question.
A prop? Just he's figuring it out.
Jenny is saying that Eugene has maxed out his charisma. I'm assuming at the detriment to his other skills.
100%. He has like no intelligence or wisdom. Pretty high, very high charisma. I think probably like middle grade strength and dex.
Lizzie, who in the chat is saying Eugene seems like he never thought ahead in his life, and I love that for him.
Yes, he's living in the moment. He's simply vibing. Has he ever had a thought in his life? Who knows?
He has had a thought. He was very. It is established that he was very ingenious with his sex toys.
Yes. He's just very selective about what he's smart about.
I look forward to the adventure where all that knowledge actually comes in handy.
He's going to be like, aha, we are all trapped in shibari ropes? Well, thank God I'm here.
Yes.
I mean, he's also, to give him credit, he's also a very good sword fighter, I guess. He's a skilled duelist. And that's the thing too. He mentions early on in the book when he's speaking to Michelle, he was top of his class as a duelist.
He's very good at playing with swords, both real and metaphorical.
He's just, he's got singular interests, and that is playing with weapons. He's locked and loaded, as it were. Here's the other thing. As I am inking Hocus's armor, I must confess to you all, I don't know how armor works. I don't. Here's my confession. I'm making it all up as I go. I did the best I could to make it look believable, but ultimately, I don't know. I'm just glad that I don't have to draw Hocus in full plate. I was like, that doesn't seem practical for traveling, and we're never going.
Kendra, I think you might have cut out.
Oh, did I?
Oh, never mind, you're back.
I'm back.
You were just silent for long enough that made me think that maybe you cut out.
Oh, did you hear me saying that I don't know how armor works?
Yes, and I heard you say that you're glad you don't have to draw Hocus in full plate.
Yes. Okay, then that's basically all I said.
Yeah.
The other, if anyone's familiar with my Tell No Tale, I had to basically learn how to draw pirate ships in every possible angle and what have you, and it basically taught me that you just have to make stuff look good enough. That's what I've accepted about my work, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be believable enough.
Especially with something like a ship, which is static and not organic. Do you ever use Clip Studio Paint?
I have a copy of it on my computer, and I just have to like nut up and use it and
Did
start
you know
using it.
that they have 3D models in there?
Yeah, they seem really good. I just I've been using Photoshop for so long that
Yeah.
all of my muscle memory is with Photoshop, and I'm like scared to start over.
The thing that because I pencil digitally and then ink traditionally, but I realized there are horse 3D models that are posable in Clip Studio
My
Paint.
God. Are you kidding me?
I am
I
serious.
I literally wrote horses out of the Real Hero Shit universe because I did not want to draw them. That's a fun piece of trivia, is that I do not want to draw a fucking horse. So all of the beasts of burden are giant goats because that's easier. There are no horses.
But yes, for future reference, if you ever do find yourself in need of drawing a horse.
That's going to be the big bad someday. There's going to be a horse. When a horse shows up, you know that shit's gotten serious.
And then also, I'm going to tell you, same hat energy. Real hero shit not having horses. My urban fantasy webcomic takes place in a futuristic world where everyone takes public transit and horses have gone extinct. So no cars and no horses.
That's what it is. That's the duality. It's if you do a modern story, you have to learn how to draw cars. Do a fantasy story, you have to learn how to draw horses. I say, I rebuke this in the name of the Lord.
Neither. Yeah, we're taking a stand.
I say, fuck that, actually. God, we only have half an hour left. I gotta ink faster.
No cars, no horses is the no gods, no masters of artists.
Oh man, can you imagine like a t-shirt that just says like cartooning anarchist? No cars, no horses.
Listen, it's your fantasy world. There can be no horses if you want.
Yeah. There's at least so far, no dragons either. This isn't a dragons universe.
Is it
I
because you
did.
don't want to draw dragons, or you're just disinterested in dragons?
I mean, I like dragons. I think they're cool. But it's, I don't know, it kind of feels like you have to establish them as like a common thing in the real world, or they end up being this like big Deus Ex Machina thing later on.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, how do you justify dragons existing and everyone not being like, holy fucking shit, that's a dragon all the time? Um, so I think it's just like it just isn't really in the cards in real hero shit. Obviously, like, you know, subject to change. Don't hold me to this. I might change my mind later and have there be like a big fuck off dragon. Um, but there
So,
are other fantasy creatures that I just made up wholesale. Um,
yeah, like what?
there is the goats that people ride around are called paka. They are just giant long-haired goats. Um, roughly the size of like a big steer or something. It's not really addressed. There are like faster versions for like, you know, like quick travel kind of, you know, what a more direct comparison to a horse, but they haven't been introduced in the story yet. And then there's a grug, which you don't see in the comic, but it is sort of like a reptilian bulldog. It's sort of like a cold-blooded bulldog. Um, and then we have a, oh, what are the other ones? It's a grug. There's, oh my god, I'm totally blanking. Oh, a wog,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is a long-haired crocodile. Um, that's all I have to say about the wog. It's a long-haired crocodile. And then there are these like really big, sort of uh, like wildcats that show up, but don't have a name specifically. Mostly
Um,
because I was like tired of fantasy stories always making the aggressive wild animal a dog
mhm.
type breed, and I wanted to have big cats.
Someone in the chat is bringing up swamp dragons from
What's a swamp
Discworld,
dragon?
and I'm going to send you a picture
Okay.
because they're delightful.
Oh.
They're like the dragon equivalent of pugs. Basically, Terry Pratchett said dragons don't work. How would they work? And the answer is tremendous amounts of inbreeding and possibly exploding on accident. Um,
Well, God bless Terry Pratchett, man. Truly a visionary.
uh, Here we go. There's the picture.
In the
Trying to find where I
meantime,
put my Discord window.
well, I'll fill air here and
Yeah.
just say, if anyone's keeping track of the size of Eugene's horn from like drawing to drawing, stop keeping track because I never know how horns, and I feel like the size changes constantly, and I don't need somebody questioning me on the canon of how big his horns are because I don't know. the recurring theme with my comics is I am making this all up as I go along, and don't call me out on it. I'm doing the best I can. He's just a big, beautiful purple baby. With
can you send me a message on Discord? I don't know where the chat went.
Yeah, one sec. There it goes. So use this time to look at the Kickstarter. Oh god, 28 minutes to go. We're just shy of 8K. Good fucking god. 4,100 backers too.
Yeah, crazy.
Insane. Insane.
Here is a very nice swamp dragon for you to look at.
Oh, they're cute. Oh, I love that.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta pick up Discord. Now that I have a library card, the world is my oyster. I gotta start reading all these books.
So yeah, I would recommend starting with Monstrous Regiment because it is related to your interests and discussions of gender and fantasy things.
Tight.
It was written before like non-binary was a commonly used term,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, like it's got some good stuff in there.
That's so great. It's interesting to see what fantasy authors who like did gender stuff well, which is like, kind of few and far between, but obviously thinking of the god Tamara Pierce, the Alana series and stuff, it's like it's cool to see authors like that, especially in this age of where every author seems to decide that actually it's time to become transphobic. Huge bummer. It's
Yeah.
nice to see. It's nice to see the people who are just like, actually, fuck all that. Gender is fake. Margaret
And
Atwood.
then Terry Pratchett also examines gender with the dwarfs in Discworld.
Nice.
Because all dwarfs are male, quote unquote, as in male presenting and use he, him pronouns. And then as they start to interact with humans more, some of them are like, but what if we were femme presenting and use she, her?
I love that. I feel like that's an interesting, I don't know, I played a lot of Breath of the Wild in quarantine, which is my first Zelda game in general. And it's really interesting how they go about stuff with like the Gerudo and what's their name? The rock guys.
Gorons.
Gorons, yeah, who are all male, I think. And the Gerudo are all female. But then, as evidenced by your interactions in the game, not that simple. And actually, it's very gender of them. I don't know. There's some cool stuff that ends up happening.
The one thing about the Gerudo that's kind of weird is this is from other Zelda games, not in Breath of the Wild, so I don't know if they're going to bring this back for future Zelda games or not. But like in Ocarina of Time, it was like the Gerudo are all female, and then every 100 years or so, they have one boy who is destined to be their ruler.
Isn't that Ganon's whole thing?
Yeah, and Ganon in Ocarina of Time is like the destined boy ruler of the Gerudo, and it's like, that's
not great. It's
Yeah.
not great. Well, my thing is also like, I mean, I'm sure somebody who's like more versed in Zelda lore can tell me, but like, so like, what do Gerudo do? Like, do they just
They just
send
they just fuck
away?
dudes from other nations.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, good for them.
They're
But like,
supposed to be like Amazons.
yeah. I mean, I love in Breath of the Wild, there's that kind of secret shop where it's like, oh, all
Boy
the Gerudo
clothes.
women who want to dress like boys come here to get male clothing, and I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's very gender of you.
Um, I also like the dating class.
Mm-hmm. Where they like have
Um,
to learn how to talk to boys.
yeah. And one was like, I jump him because he might be a secret ninja.
So cute. Okay, can I finish all of these guys in 20 minutes? We will see. I'm not gonna get to color them, but
So Alex S says, "How big is it? It's as big as it needs to be in regards to Eugene's horns."
listen, it's
And
also
then
very funny
Canuck
to me.
Errant says, "The bigger the hornier, obviously."
That's the thing. I was having a bit of a crisis as we were, promoting the Kickstarter and stuff because I was like, man, we keep saying how horny this book is, and I'm afraid that people are going to get it expecting pornography. It's not going to be porno, and then they'll be disappointed. But then my friend pointed out to me, they're like, well, if you keep marketing it as horny, one of your main characters has horns, so you can just point to Eugene. I was like, oh, good point.
And
It's inherently a horny book.
that's also good humor, like to
Yeah,
prepare them for the type of humor that they will encounter in the book.
exactly. I love to do my funny little jokes.
Um, Trans Husco says, "I need to know the melody to The Queen Was Widowed Quite Young. I guess the devil is hung." Sing along.
Uh, it's like not quite a tune. It's kind of more like a limerick. It's do I know this off the top of my head? It goes, you have to clap while you're doing it. The queen was widowed quite young, but she kept a prayer on her tongue. Uh, a child was born, or her son was born, a child with horns. I guess the devil is hung. It's just like that. But I imagined it as sort of like playground rhyme, like a jump
Like,
rope rhyme.
Miss Lucy had a tugboat. The tugboat had a belting
Yeah,
ding.
exactly. Or like Miss Mary Mac or something. Like it's just something that like little kids will be like tee-heeing about on the ground. Um,
I do like
because
his outrage of, "You sang that in school?"
he had no idea. Nobody told him about it. He
That
went to
is
private school.
also quite racy for children's playground.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel like it's. I mean, to be fair, I was about to like make an example, but I think all of the racy playground rhymes from my generation were just racist.
They're
There were
like
some bad.
racist, and then we replaced a word to make it not racist, and
Yeah,
now it
I
just
seem to
doesn't make
remember.
sense.
Yeah, I obviously won't repeat any of them, but I seem to remember something about like peeing in Coke that was not appropriate. Um, but like I love any sort of stories involving like medieval peasants because they're just like Canterbury Tales or what, like it's just like
Yeah.
so raunchy and so funny. Like they loved fart jokes and they love like sex jokes and stuff, and I'm like, man, people have always been the same. Um, but yeah, and I don't know if this I think this page must have been previewed when Eugene storms out of the
Mhm.
bedroom in response to the playground rhyme. The guard says, "The queen made it illegal for people to make disparaging comments about you. Which is there somebody that you would like me to imprison?" Which I thought was very funny because listen, not a spoiler, but you don't get to meet Eugene's mom in this book, but hopefully you will meet her someday, and she's great. But she's very protective of her boy. Um, and if she knew about the queen was widowed quite young, she would be not pleased. Eugene is a very well-loved, naive, spoiled little baby. Just the way we like him. Oh boy, how fast can we're doing it. Folks, we're gonna do it.
You got 20 minutes.
We can do it. I'm so rusty. I haven't drawn these guys in a while.
In Dragon Age.
Yes.
So you said that you romanced Alistair in Dragon Age Origin.
I did.
Do you know about the secret foursome scene?
At the Pearl?
The wherever you can sleep with Isabel, but then you can.
Wait, there's maybe I don't know about it.
Isabel has a cameo in
Yeah.
Origin, and you can sleep with her.
Uh-huh.
And if you
While you're like, hardening
if you
Alistair.
have hardened Ileana
Oh.
and are romancing her, you can have a threesome. But then if Zevran is in your party, you can be like, can I get in on this too? And you can have a big four-way.
God bless. See, Inquisition is like my game, but they really dialed it back from the early games. It used to be completely unhinged. It is slightly less unhinged. I mean, I guess the Iron Bill kind of makes up for it single-handedly.
Mm-hmm.
God bless him. Shout out to Freddie Prinze Jr. for putting his whole foot in the most iconic video game character of our generation.
Yeah, I just thought that was very funny that you can, like, how can I have sex with as many people as possible in Dragon Age?
God bless.
And there is an answer.
It is 4. See, I wish they would bring back the everyone is bi mechanic from 2 in whatever future Dragon Age game they do.
I kind of liked 3, where everyone has different sexualities.
I guess I do. I just get like, as soon as I found out that Cullen was supposed to be bi, but they like supposedly like ran out of time to do it, I was like, God, how dare you?
That's a bummer. But I'm saying like, Egg Elfman can stay straight.
Yes.
And,
fuck
also, I really like that if you're a guy and you hit on Sarah, she's like, it will never work out. We have too much in common. And you'd be like, what? And she goes, we both want to sleep with women.
Yeah, that's true. I think I just like, if I trusted the BioWare writers more to figure out who is queer and who's not, I think I would be more behind it. But just let me have the reins, BioWare. Just give me the keys. Let me drive. I will make Dragon Age 4. You guys all just sit back. Oh God, how am I gonna draw this fucking staff? Fun trivia. Ani's staff used to be completely covered in ropes, like kind of like wrapped up, and it looked really, really cool. But then very early on, I was like, I cannot draw that. I cannot draw her staff covered in ropes. That's too much. So I got rid of it. I said, nope, no thank you. So now it's just around the top, and she's got that little like jade disc as her sort of focus point. Yeah, I hope someday that I can sort of expound more about the way that magic works in this universe, because I've given it a lot of thought, but it doesn't really, again, without that sort of I don't know, character who doesn't know anything sort of trope. it's hard to sort of shoehorn in a conversation about like, well, here's the mechanics of magic, without it feeling like a lesson. But we've got secular mages and we've got religious mages, and there's a little bit of tension about that and a little bit of history that is sort of touched on in the book. But aside from that, we'll just have to wait and
Got 12 minutes left. Let's check in.
oh god, oh god.
We are at 86,214.
Good solid number. Good solid
Yeah.
number. Nothing to shake a stick at. What percentage over is that?
Let's see.
It's well over 500. It's
Yeah,
been 500 today.
it's getting close to 600. Because 90,600.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me do a quick tweet push.
It should say on the Twitter page.
Okay, sick.
Just make this bigger.
I'm just doing a quick little tweet push. Been so frantically tweeting about this for like the last 2 days. Bunch of music stuck in my head. Sweating like an absolute pig.
11 minutes.
My god. The end is in sight. Okay, Michelle, come on. Come on, man. Come on, buddy. Let's do this. We can do this, kiddo. Is he going to look good? That's not the point. The point is he will be done. Another comics lesson for the class. Doesn't need to be perfect.
Perfect is the enemy of done.
Mm-hmm.
I made little pins a couple of years ago that said prefect is the enemy of done. With an intentional typo
good.
in it.
That's great. That's the thing. Comics are extremely hard. Maybe the hardest medium that people just like decide to do to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're extremely rewarding, and also they will beat the preciousness out of you. Like if you are the kind of person who's like, oh, I don't know, I can't like if it's not perfect, I can't finish. I have to. Everything has to be perfect. You do not have time to be perfect in comics, and it's kind of freeing to just be like, okay, well, just fucking do it.
Kendra, I have a question. What is your writing process? Are you more of a spontaneous writer, or are you someone who likes to plan ahead?
I think it's kind of a mix of both. I kind of talked about this in another interview, but I accidentally had to write real hero shit in a week because I misunderstood my first deadline and only had a week to complete it. So the first draft was done in about 6 or 7 days, which was insane and not advisable in any way, shape, or form. I think I'm not super planny outy. I do like I'll have like story beats in my head that I want to hit, and sort of like, especially working in comics, you kind of like have a sort of cinematic eye, at least I do, of like, okay, I want this to look like this. I want to have this kind of transition to be like this, and like how do I make all these pieces fit together? And I think I didn't do it so much on this draft because I just didn't have time initially. Um, but I tend to um, sort of not exactly thumbnail at this. I know a lot of comic artists sort of thumbnail at the same time as they're scripting to kind of keep the flow in. And I don't directly do that, but sometimes it's just impossible for me to figure out how a page is going to line up unless I can visually see what the comic page will look like. So I don't know. It's sort of it's a messy combination of all of the things. Um, I find it very challenging to write in script format, like the actual like technical formatting of it. Um, so I had a hard time doing that sort of properly. So I kind of
Well,
just
you did
scrawl
a
all
great
over it.
job as someone who read all those scripts.
Oh, thank you. You did a great job editing. I
Thank
was very,
you.
very
I'm
thankful for your insight. Um,
glad I
and
could help.
especially telling like at the times where you were like, "Hey, this doesn't make any sense," and I would go, "Oh, right, because I have a whole backstory in my head that is not on the paper, and I know it's there, but a reader is going to have no fucking idea what I'm talking about," which was
Yeah.
very helpful as like a first time sort of like writer.
I like how big Michelle's ears are. Um,
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen that chart of elf ears.
Probably,
Um,
maybe.
someone made a chart that was just different styles of elf ears from like the people that have
The
just
big one was
slightly
just
pointy
pervert,
elf
right?
ears. Huh?
The big one was just pervert, right?
No, they were just labeled like 1 to 10, like, and they were just varying degrees of getting longer and longer. And I actually saved it, and when someone asked me for a commission to draw fairy characters with pointed ears, I sent them that chart and said, "Where are their ears on this chart?"
See, the one that I was thinking of, it was something like just like a little drawing of an elf, like Legolas ears, and it was like this person likes elves. And then there was one the way that I draw elf ears, like the really big elf ears, and it was like this person is a pervert. I was like, God damn it! Like I noted elf ear. Like listen, I just love big ears. I love these big beautiful ears are so great. I love them so
Listen,
much.
I want boys with fangs.
Yeah.
That's where I go. I want the
Just
fangs
like
rather than the elf ears.
yeah. We all have our thing. Okay, I got 6 minutes. I think I'm gonna do it. It's not gonna be clean, but it will be done. Yeah, I love the big elf ears. I think that it's just a fun design choice, and I love having some articulation to them. Like you'll see in the book that Michelle
Yeah,
kind of
when
emotes.
they're like dog ears.
Yeah, I think that that's just a very fun, a fun little treat for me
Yes, it's
personally.
very emotive.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I love these guys. I love Michelle. I love the whole crew. God, I think I did. I think it's it. I think this is it. I'm done. Did I get it? Did I get it all? Yeah. Hold on.
Also, I'm glad that some of my world building questions weren't too like out there and dumb shit no one cares about.
No, I mean
Because
it's
I
all.
I mentioned isekais earlier and how a lot of them lose steam after like 3 episodes, but the one that I've actually been getting really into is how a realistic hero saved the kingdom, and it's they summon the person from our world.
Mhm.
And it turns out it's because their kingdom is in economic distress, and they accidentally summoned like a bureaucrat government worker, so
My
he's
God.
helping them like fix their infrastructure. And I'm like, yes, give it to me. Tell me how to fix this fantasy world's medieval infrastructure.
Just get like a business guy to come in,
Yeah.
a business major. Ooh, 4 minutes left.
Like the
I'm just
episode I just watched, he's like, we gotta build a new port, and the people tell him the land is cursed where he wants to build his new port. And he figures out, based on the legend, that there probably isn't a sea monster, but they probably occasionally get tsunamis. So let's build our port somewhere else. Like
Oh,
he
that's so
figured
funny.
out that tsunamis were hitting the coast based on
I love
like the legend.
I love bureaucracy fantasy.
Yeah. So
That was
give
one
it
of
to
I
me.
loved. I saw Shin Godzilla for the first time in the last year, and I loved it because it was so much about just like the frustrations of being a government employee during a giant monster attack. And I thought that
Oh,
was really clever. Okay, now Michelle's complete. He has all his freckles. Yeah,
good.
here's the guys. They're not. Oh wait, shit. Hold on. His arm. Uh, Fine. There you go. As fast as possible. Yeah, here's my sweet crew. I love them very much. So
Those good
happy.
boys. Those good
Good
boys.
boys and good girl and good non.
Yeah.
We might get up to 87K in 2 minutes. We have
All right.
400 to go.
Now I'm
Good.
just gonna, since you're done drawing, I'm just gonna keep it on the Kickstarter window.
Yeah.
Um, Spice telling me to get ready to post a thank you post, and it's like I'm busy hyping this stuff.
Sorry, Spike.
We're live.
Oh, wait, it just went up again.
Yeah.
Oh,
2 minutes to go.
okay, I'm posting. I'm posting as hard as I can.
We're doing it. If they come watch in the last 2 minutes with us, they'll get to see the little confetti on the screen.
Oh God, it's going to seconds now. Oh
Yeah.
no, that's so
No.
stressful.
Have you ever seen a Kickstarter close out? There's gonna be confetti. Get your screenshots ready.
Oh my God, no, I haven't. I've
Uh,
never been here in the thick of it.
yeah. Get your screenshot ready. Like
Okay,
to screenshot that confetti.
okay. Screenshot is locked and loaded. 90 seconds to go. Good God. Well, also, like, thank you everybody in the chat for hanging out, and also thank you for supporting my book. It means so much to me that everyone seems to be really excited about this book, which was so much just like a self-indulgent passion project. I'm really,
I
really glad that
super
it's
enjoyed
resonated.
editing it.
It so it I'm so glad that it worked out and that the team was so good. I feel very, very lucky. It's been a crazy ride. And this is also real hero shit's been cooking in my brain for the better part of 4 years now. So it is I can't wait for this actually to be done and in everybody's hot little hands.
Oh. Right, it's 30 seconds ish.
Good
30
God.
seconds. Numbers went red. Yeah, numbers went red.
Ah! Ah! Oh man, we're getting close.
We're
I
getting
don't think
good.
we're gonna hit. I don't think we're gonna hit 86. That's okay
10,
though.
9, 8,
8,
7,
7,
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Happy New
Confetti!
Year! Cute.
Confetti times! All the
Yay!
confetti!
Jesus Christ. Hot damn. Wow, it's over.
We did
Locked
it!
and loaded. Oh my God.
Just shy of 90,000.
That's insane. That's completely insane.
Thanks all of you for stopping by and for supporting the Kickstarter.
Yeah, thank you so
We
much.
couldn't have done it without you.
Quite literally.
And yeah,
It's
real quick, I assume everyone here already knows where to find you, Kendra, but just in case it's someone watching this archived, where can they find you online?
You can find me at all one word, Kendra W. Can Draw. Like can draw, can draw. Or just Google Kendra Wells at this point. I'm sure I'll pop up. I'm Kendra W. Can Draw basically everywhere. If you're interested in supporting my work in a very direct way, you can join my Patreon, also under Kendra W. Kendra. Ton of behind the like in process stuff about Real Hero shit that you're only going to find there. And lots of like discussions and Q&As and stuff, and like years and years of backlog of a lot of my. So yeah, check it out there.
And
Follow me around. Yeah.
And you can find me on Twitter as Kellhound, which is spelled like Hellhound but with a K.
Yeah.
And you can follow Iron Circus at Iron Circus Comics. The comics has an X at the end because comics CS didn't fit. So you can follow us on there, and we'll keep you updated on when Real Hero Shit is funding. And again, thanks everyone. You all have a good evening. And I have to figure out how to close this now. Bye!
Bye. Thanks for hanging out.
Okay.